So they decided to fight for her. They wrapped their arms around her and marched her to the pews. The church mothers fasted until their ribs showed, storming the gates of heaven with prayers, begging God to rewrite her story. The village held its breath. And for the first time in 6 months since she moved into this village, the graveyard was silent. The soil on the fresh mounds finally had time to settle. Grass began to grow over the grief. There were no wailing women, no digging spades, no black veils. For 6 blessed months, death stayed its hand. We almost believed the curse was broken. We almost believed she was safe. And then came husband 13. His name was Daniel. Daniel was different, not in strength, but in thought. He had heard the stories and came not to be loved, but to learn. Unlike others, he was not drawn in by beauty alone. He was curious, dangerously curious. He wanted to know if the stories were true. Was she cursed? Was she haunted? Or was she simply doing what others feared to imagine? He married her cautiously, watching her the way a hunter watches a trap. He watched everything she did. He observed her cooking, the way she sprinkled something into the stew when she thought he wasn't looking. On their first night, Amina cooked her finest meal. Daniel tasted the stew. The flavor was rich, beautiful, but something about the heaviness in his eyelids felt familiar. He had once worked long night shifts and had taken sleeping tablets before, and he recognized the slow, sinking fog of forced sleep. He pretended to yawn. Pretended to stumble. When Amina guided him to the bed, he collapsed onto the bed and feigned the deep, rattling breath of the drugged. He lay down and pretended to drift into deep sleep. When Amina crept to his bedside, pillow in her hands, he forced his breath shallow and his body limp. As she smothered him, he let his body go limp, just enough to fool her. Through slit eyes, he watched. Daniel did not fight. He held his breath until his lungs burned, letting his body go limp and heavy beneath her hands. He let her believe the job was done. Satisfied, she covered him with the duvet, turned her back, and slept the sleep of the innocent. But she did not wake to a corpse. Before the first cock crowed, Daniel slipped into the darkness. He went straight to the elders, breathless and trembling. He told them everything. And the old men, tired of burying their sons, hatched a plan. When Amina woke, the bed was empty. The elders were already at her door, their faces grim masks of deception. "Do not look, daughter," they lied, barring her from the room. The spirit took him violently. "It is a bad death. We have already rushed the body to the mortuary to cleanse it." Amina collapsed in tears, perfect, practiced tears. She did not question it. Why would she? She knew what she had done. For 3 days, the village mourned a phantom. The men carried a coffin weighed down with heavy, wet banana stems, nailed shut against the prying eyes of women. Daniel watched it all from the thicket of the banana plantation. He watched her wail. He watched the community lament his gentle soul. He watched a funeral for a man who was watching back. The burial day arrived. The heat was heavy, the mourners plentiful. The coffin was lowered, the ropes groaning under the weight of the banana stems. The first shovel of soil trembled in the air. "Wait." The voice cut through the hymns like a ponga. Daniel stepped out from the trees. He was dusty. He was unshaven. But his chest heaved with the undeniable rhythm of life. The wailing froze. A woman screamed and dropped to her knees. Another fainted into the arms of a chair. 2 men fell backward into the grass. Even the birds seemed to pause mid-flight. Amina stood frozen at the grave's edge, shock erasing every practiced expression from her face. Daniel walked past the open grave and stood before her. He did not shout. He simply told the story. He spoke of the white powder in the stew. He spoke of the pillow. He spoke of the properties inherited, the pattern of 12 dead men, the manipulation of fear. He stripped away the myth she had wrapped around herself like a warm blanket. You fear a ghost, Daniel told the trembling crowd. But you should have feared the pillow. And then, to remove the final shadow of doubt, he pointed a finger at her. Show them. Show them the red thigh. A collective gasp rolled across the graveyard. The request was taboo, but the anger in Daniel's voice commanded obedience. With a shaking hand, Amina slowly lifted her dress just enough to reveal both her thighs. Her thighs were smooth, brown, ordinary. There was no angry scarlet scar. No glowing mark of the devil. No spirit manifestation, nothing supernatural. Just a woman who understood the weaknesses of men and the usefulness of fear. Silence fell over the graveyard. The spell broke. The villagers surged forward, a tide of betrayal rising in their throats. But in the chaos, in the dust and the shouting, Amina turned. She did not run. She did not beg. She simply slipped away. By the time the crowd turned to seize her, she was gone. No one saw her pack. No one saw her leave the gate. She slipped out of the world the same way she had entered, quietly, confidently, leaving nothing behind but an empty house and an open grave. No footprints. No witnesses. Only an empty house with cold ashes and missing clothes. Some say she moved to a distant village and changed her name. Others swear she remarried far away, where no one knew her story. Some believe she may have died alone. And a few insist she is still alive somewhere, living carefully, waiting for her next opportunity. But no one knows. To this day, when a man behaves strangely because of a new woman, the elders lean back and say, "Be careful. Not every danger glows in the dark. Some dangers smile beautifully, cook well, and bury their mistakes quietly." Amina became a legend. Not because she had the red thigh, but because she never needed it. But because she proved that a myth can hide a monster, and sometimes the scariest creature in the village is simply a human being who knows exactly what they are doing.